Jeremy, how you doing today?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
Oh, fantastic.
Jeremy, welcome back.
It's been a very long quarter, I'll say that, but it's nice to have you back on.
It's a quarter in dog
years.
years.
That's a dig. I know. I said I'd come on every quarter, and it's been a year.
Did.
But
Public information. You know, once you say something on YouTube, it stays on YouTube. You know, like, but then that's in dog years, Chris. He figured it dog years. We just kind of do it. Thank you. Anyway, so here's Jeremy Bird. Here's Executive Vice President at Lyft. He's in head of driver experience at Lyft, and basically whatever product comes your way, his team had probably something to do with it. So Jeremy, welcome back. We appreciate you showing up. You know, we kid you a lot, but we appreciate it. So let's start with the big picture, big news. I did a video, I did an article for our blog. Maybe you watched it, maybe you didn't. I got a lot of heat because of you guys, because they all call me like a shill or a sellout. But I was like, I'm taking all this heat for you guys. But anyway, so let's start with that. Yesterday, Lyft announced a new driver experience improvement package. So can you walk us through some of the details and what this really means for the drivers on the ground?
Yeah, thank you, Sergio. And yeah, you mentioned in the sort of intro, I was at an event in SF last week with drivers. There's about 160 drivers there, kind of the elite drivers, and talking about some of the rollout here. And I said, I'm the head of driver experience here, and yeah, so if you have any issues, you can come. You chat with me, which is essentially what you just said. So appreciate that. Yeah, we rolled out a bunch, sort of our H2 every half of the year. We'll roll out what we hope are some improvements to the driver experience on the platform. We have a really intelligent and I think compassionate sort of user experience team here who's constantly doing surveys and trying to understand, in addition to people driving and other things, what are the things we can do to improve, and listening to you 180 episodes to say like what should be improving. So the package here is just new tools to really support success for drivers. I'll talk through a couple of them. One was around bonuses, which I know you wrote about, and really trying to stack the turbo bonuses into really an easier comprehensive incentive, so people it's like really helpful for drivers to know where to go. I think many things on the platform could be simpler and sort of more unified, so hopefully that is sort of stacked bonuses for drivers. Earning sooner while you wait was another big one. So 1 minute after arrival, starting to earn. It had been more in the past. We heard that on this show. We heard it from other folks to make that happen. Customizing ride challenges and choosing your ride type. A lot of drivers want to have, if I've got a black car, XC, to be able to have more customization of your ride type and also the ride challenges. So those were kind of the highlights of some of the things that we rolled out. And I think a lot of the other things we've rolled out over the last couple of years are hopefully just enforcing that. What we're trying to do is improve the experience for drivers every day and make it worth the effort.
Yep, I like actually a couple of them, right? Get paid after a minute, although there was no detail about what they're going to get paid. That's just typical, though. That's okay. So that was the only softball you're going to get, Jeremy. So here we go. Here we go.
I expect nothing less.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So over the past 5 years, right? Okay, the cost of living. I'm reading the questions because I don't want to go on a rant here. Over the past 5 years, the cost of living and inflation have risen sharply in the U.S. I, for one, do not buy the government gaslighting regarding inflation being 2.5% annually. In your view, have Lyft driver earnings kept pace with these economic realities? And if not, what steps is Lyft taking to ensure that drivers' real net income does not continuously erode over time?
Yeah. Let me just say a couple of things on that. One, you're right how you phrase the question in terms of net income. So I've been in this role for a couple of years. For folks who don't know me, I've been at Lyft for 6 years, but I was on the policy team. I came in, I was our chief policy officer for a while, really focused on the sort of public policy around the rideshare industry. So I've been in the the driver team for a couple of years. And this is the first thing I was looking at when I was in the role is it's not, yes, we care about overall gross in earnings, what people are making. It matters. What really matters is what you take home, right? And that has a combination of what you earn and also what you spend. And so that's how we look at things as well. We are trying to do three main things, right, that I think will help drivers. If you think about we're a platform, we see, and I see, and I think you do too, but we should talk about that, drivers that are customers of that platform. Our job is to have people come and be successful on our platform. So the number one thing we can do for drivers is to increase demand. If there's more riders on the platform, drivers will make more money. They'll be utilized more. We want more drivers on. We try to get the demand up. We've been really focused on that. The second thing is we want to make sure that that drivers are getting a fair amount of any rider payments. We rolled that out with the earnings commitment last year. I think we've been true to that. That's a floor. I think most of the time it's much higher than that. And then lastly is we've been really trying to invest in the cost side. If you look at our rewards program, it's all about trying to bring the cost down. So if drivers are driving on the platform, you're earning rewards, you're able to either get cash straight away, or what's better is you can get every dollar you're getting, you can get $30 for in the partnerships we have with car wash or oil change or some other things. So
we're gonna hit on that. We're gonna hit on that in a minute. But I'm taking your answer is yes. The drivers are making more, according to the government. The maintenance issue, just on maintenance of cars, because that's our tool that we take to work. Inflation is about 35 to 38% over the last 5 years. I personally don't think, and my community doesn't think, earnings have gone up 35 to 38% in the last 5 years. But we have a difference of opinion there. So Lyft CEO David Risher recently, in a Forbes interview, announced that Lyft expects to save about $200 million with the passage of SB 371 in California, and that these savings would be passed on to drivers. Can you explain specifically how those Lyft savings will reach drivers?
Yeah. Can I give a little context to the California law? I think there's actually a big deal, because I think when we talk about driver earnings, one of the biggest impacts is insurance costs. And I know a lot of people will talk about this. It is, I think, the number one thing we could do is sit on the same side of the table with drivers and say, as Lyft, or really anybody in the rideshare industry, includes our competitor and drivers, the number one thing we could do to expand the industry and to put more money in the pockets of drivers and to get more riders out there, because the cost will go down, is to lower insurance costs, especially in states like California, where the insurance costs are just incredibly high. And it's really the uninsured or underinsured other motorists, not just the personal insurance we carry on the driver. So the bargain in California was to reduce those insurance costs, and there's obviously the labor side of this. Here's how it works. So starting in January, the insurance costs will lower. Now they're still some of the highest in the country, incredibly high compared to many other markets. So when you get into a car in LA, even after the bill is passed, it still costs $7 before the car moves anywhere. Now it used to be $10 or $11. But that's a significant decrease. And as that goes down, right, then each ride, there's more, you can A, charge less, get more riders, and B, pay more. And so I think what you will see in California is a much healthier marketplace, because that third-party cost that is really only being used for, it almost never comes up. It's really being used as a trial attorney pot of money to sue the companies, will actually go to riders and drivers. And so I think that will be really good to see. Lower costs, more demand, more rides, more utilization, and also the opportunity for higher pay.
Okay. Well, I do have, millions of screenshots that I collected over the last 3.5 years. We'll compare it after January. Identical trips. Let's see if we're getting paid more. But in my past experience, all these savings that the companies receive usually don't get passed on to drivers. I'm not sure about the riders part of it. So we're going to talk about this 70-30 guarantee thing now, okay? So from its inception, this Lyft 70-30 earnings guarantee, okay, has generated mixed reactions within the driver community. Many drivers, including myself, see this as hocus pocus, and I tend to agree with the sentiment of the driver community. Since the Lyft external expenses and Lyft service fee line items seem interchangeable on a million screenshots that I have. So out of these screenshots, in the same city, same trip, receipt screenshots, I've seen and noticed that on identical trips yield vastly different external expenses at the same time of the day, same duration, same distance of a trip. Vastly different external expenses. Why is that? And I have a follow-up to that.
Yeah, I don't know about your screenshots, but so here's how the earnings commitment works, right? And I actually don't think it's hocus pocus, but I get you. It's fair to be critical, as I know you are, on a lot of this stuff, and hold our foot to the fire, which I think is totally fair. I think what's different is we're the only one in the industry that does this, which is we're making a commitment. And again, it's a floor. Most rides are higher than the 70/30. And the way it works is we are committing. And I think that we heard many times, this is one of the first things I heard coming in, is transparency matters. And people want to know, am I getting a fair amount? Almost all of the third-party fee is for insurance. And so I don't know about your screenshots, but insurance does vary by driver. It varies based on the kind of car you have, based on your own insurance. I'm not sure how much of I can feel free to send me the different ones, and I'm happy to look at them.
I will send them to you. Vastly different. Like on one, external expenses would be $10 for a 5-mile trip in LA. Same time, same duration, same distance. And then external expenses would be $18, for example. I have them all. I'll send them to your way, and then you can figure it out. But hopefully in January, you said, since insurance is going to be lowered, we'll see some, benefits of this. My follow-up is this. So why should drivers trust or even care about Lyft's external expenses? It's simply Lyft's cost of doing business. Does Lyft care about the driver expenses? Is there a plan to make this opaque formula that you guys use more understandable or transparent for drivers?
Yeah. Does Lyft care 100%? I mean, do I care about drivers' external expenses? Absolutely. I mean, we're a marketplace, and we need drivers to come on that marketplace. And if drivers are successful, we're successful. I know it's very easy to think there's got to be an antagonistic relationship, that if we do well, drivers won't do well, and vice versa. But if drivers do well, we do better. If you look at I just was talking to a NYU professor about this. If you look at the earnings commitment, which I think it's true that it's mixed, and some people might have different opinions on this. But in our data that we show, drivers overall find it's helped in terms of their sentiment because of the transparency. And as we have looked at studies, it has then led to more driver hours. And it has led to more driver hours. ETAs have gotten better. As ETAs have gotten better, more folks are riding on the platform. As more folks ride on the platform, drivers make more money. And so I do think that is, it's all part of a flywheel. So do I care about what drivers spend? Absolutely. What drivers take home.
I mean, our external expenses is ours. Your external expenses is yours. I don't think I care about Lyft's external expenses, and you should not care about mine, probably, because I'm running my business. You're running your business. But when you say more hours driven by drivers, I think, Jeremy, that's because the fares are lower. And once upfront fares showed up, the fares are lower. We just have to drive more to make the same amount of money we were making last year. That's the community's point of view. And when I do drive, I do see it. When I compare a trip, when in Los Angeles in 2005, I get a trip for $2.62. I'm supposed to drive a mile, pick up a human, put him in my car, and drive another mile on minimum fare, $2.62. $2.62, by the way, has been the same one since I started with Lyft 9 years ago. In 9 years, things have changed, but I guess the minimum fare has not changed. So I want to hit on deactivations a little bit. I do agree with David when he was on. The in-app appeals process has gotten better. Without a question, it has gotten better.
Yep.
But I still receive about 25 to 30 emails a week saying, Serge, I got deactivated unjustly. Please help me. Unfortunately, these people have no clue that I'm powerless when it comes to all that stuff, and I can't do anything about deactivations. Why is there this shoot first, ask questions later? And do you think Lyft should educate the rider community that their fraudulent claim could end somebody's livelihood?
Yeah, let me say a couple of things back to your last question, because you just moved off of it really quickly about external costs and our business, your business. Our business is we are a platform. We are a marketplace. And I think what I talk to drivers about all the time, and I think this is true. I think you believe this, but some other folks don't. Like, we're not an employer. We don't employ drivers. We don't tell you where to go. We are a platform, and we want to create the best experience for drivers on that platform. In terms of the deactivations, we have this is always a challenge in terms of deactivations, right? And this is true when I worked in the labor union, for example. Like, you have to make sure that you have a safe platform, and there are just deactivations every day. There are things that drivers do that warrant being deactivated, that are unsafe, that make the platform unsafe. So we
I
have
agree.
to have
There are bad apples. I agree.
Right. There are bad apples. We all know that. And the goal is, how do you do that without unfairly deactivating anybody? And if anybody is ever unfairly deactivated, that's a terrible thing on the platform. And usually it's a good driver, right? And they'll reach out, and we want that person driving. We want to have the safest platform, and we want to have the best drivers on that platform. We want to make sure we incentivize that. We've been doing a lot of stuff. You've talked to Amina a bunch of times. I think we've made it significantly better. It's both easier technologically to use. We are doing a lot more investment than I think any other company, certainly in our space, and really I think in service industry in general, to make sure, especially for elite drivers who've been driving a long time, to have access to a live human when they need that access. We could do better there. And when I get sent any deactivation, and you sent me some from other folks, it gets immediately sent to a group. They look at it very closely, very quickly. I think we've gotten the speed of that, because what you said is important. It matters. If you're relying on this, you're coming on the platform, being deactivated even for an hour is too much, right? And certainly can't be 48 hours, certainly can't be a week, that sort of thing. We could probably do more, always. Like, we're not perfect on that front, and we've got to make sure riders understand that, and that we follow up, and that we do not have riders that are unfairly, saying something that would be on the platform. At the same time, we have to keep the platform safe. So
I personally think, look, there is this cancellation issue that's been going on since the day I joined the platform. For example, unaccompanied minors, right? A parent will show up with a kid or no car seat. I will cancel, and I will put it in their unaccompanied minor, and then that rider will is pissed off, right? They're going to miss school or whatever it's going to happen, and they send something to Lyft AI algo, or HR algo will pick up that line. They'll say the driver was racist, or there's something like that, and then this driver is off the platform for at least 72 hours. Why don't you guys not deactivate? If a driver puts in as a cancellation excuse, let's say, unaccompanied minor, as we know, they're not allowed on the platform. Why don't you put the rider in a timeout for like a day? Because what happens, Jeremy, many times I have driven by, I said, no, your parent's not here, I'm not picking you up. Literally within a minute, they'll order another trip. Some other fool taking all the risk will come and pick that person up and put them in their car, the unaccompanied minor. There should be some sort of some sort of punishment for the rider as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing a lot, I think, on that front of, like, making sure that, I think, to your point, like, you have two customers on the platform, right? The rider is your customer, the driver is our customer on the platform, and we have to make sure we're looking at both and coming up with policies that work for riders as well. Like, number one, on the cancellation front, we have, I think, put in a number of things that have made it better, so that when you have that, whether it's a safety flag, you felt safe when somebody wanted, put their kid in there and they didn't have a car seat. Somebody wanted, to put in 7 people in your car, they didn't order an XXL, those kinds of things. I think we've done a fairly good job of not making that a negative on the driver. To your point, like, could we do more on the rider side, potentially deactivate them? I can talk to the folks about that. I know we have been doing some of those things. We want to be careful. We want to make sure we, on both sides, and I think your point is right. Like, if we have a serious allegation, it is important on the platform that we, like, investigate that on both sides. And I think we do a good job if we have a serious allegation from a driver on a rider that, they were doing something unsafe, that we do fully look into that and deactivate them during that period of time. But yeah, more we could do there, I'm sure. Yeah, we should talk to Amina more about that as well.
Yeah, I will. And so next one, we're going to talk about, wonderful AVs, right? They're coming, like it or not. I tell my audience all the time, don't stick your head in the sand. Congrats, by the way, on the Waymo exclusive in Nashville. You guys are going to put your fleet management expertise to use, I guess, on that one.
One thing I always say is work smarter, not harder. If you aren't using the Solo app, then you may be working harder. So let's change that. Download the app, link your accounts where you can manage your income, track your expenses, and project your taxes. Not only that, but you can plan by optimizing your time, make more, and even guarantee your daily pay with guaranteed earnings. Download Solo and begin to work smarter, not harder today. Link is in the description. All right, let's get back to it.
So I wrote an article. In fact, I think I sent it to you, sent you the article. So we received data from a company called Gridwise, which analyzes millions and millions of data points, right? So according to their data, it suggests that even in geofenced areas and with limited scale, where autonomous vehicles like Waymo's operate, driver earnings, trip offer counts, and utilization rates are on the decline, and appreciably so. And I've done interviews with Austin drivers. They unequivocally say they're making less money. So Waymo reportedly is completing more trips or as many rides as Lyft in San Francisco, according to the data. So I get, I know you talked to Harry about the hybrid network, right? I got that. I get the idea, but I believe in most metro areas, drivers will be replaced by AVs within a couple to 3 years. So in this package that you announced, which I wrote about, Lyft created autonomous vehicle driver forums, right? To hear the community's concerns, which is great. I commend you, because the other side is not doing any of this. So congrats. But are these forums really meaningful, Jeremy, or are they mostly for optics? Number one. In other words, is if the Lyft is seriously considering how to transition drivers into the next phase of mobility, which I believe it's autonomous vehicles, or will decisions ultimately come down to Lyft stock price and shareholder value?
So cynical, Sergio. No, I
gotta
actually
do my job.
I know. I actually appreciate this question. And we could talk about this for a long time. We probably should. I think because I think the number one thing you said is important is you can't say, oh, this is something that's going to happen 10 years from now. I think that's so disingenuous. I don't think it's what people feel. And yeah, you know, I'm from St. Louis. People on the ground in St. Louis aren't feeling it yet. But if you're in San Francisco, it's not going to happen. It's happening. Yep. If you're in Austin, if you're in Atlanta, if you're in LA, if you're in Phoenix, you know, this is happening. I do believe strongly that the future will be hybrid. I do believe drivers will always be critical to the Lyft platform. That's why we've kept our foot on the gas in terms of what I think matters for drivers. And we're not saying, hey, we're just going to do whatever little amount we can do here and transition to AVs. I do think autonomous will grow the pie. I don't know enough about your Gridwise data, by the way, but I will say that not every city is the same in what I've looked at. So Phoenix has had autonomous vehicles on the ground for a lot longer, and Phoenix is a different market than LA or a different market than San Francisco. And we have seen, I think, different metrics in different markets. Part of that depends on how big the operating domain, design domain is. So like the ODD area, some places it's bigger, some places it's smaller. And so there's still a lot to learn about this. It matters to us to create a future that is a hybrid future that is as good for drivers as possible. And that means a lot of different things. Number one is ensuring that we're looking at the data and figuring out how do we make the drivers successful in an autonomous today and then in an autonomous future. How do we understand the data enough? What does it mean about how does the operating domain matter in terms of where drivers are, you know, and how is it actually, is it expanding the pie? And how much is it expanding the pie? Long term, I do believe, and I know you're cynical about this, and that's fine. I do believe there will be entrepreneurial opportunities for drivers in an AV future. And I think there are opportunities for drivers in the AV industry. So you talked about our deal with Waymo in Nashville, which I am excited about. I think there's a lot of potential there. Our FlexDrive team, which is a subsidiary we have that does the today's rental for somebody that wants to drive on the platform and doesn't have their own vehicle, 30% or more, I think sometimes it's been up as close to half of the people who work in that fleet management used to be drivers on the platform. I think that will be true in the AV world. That's not going to be scalable enough, but we're thinking about that. We're looking into that. And I know it's hard to believe because we're a big company and it's easy to be cynical about it, but you've talked to David. I think we've talked enough about this. Like, I care about the 600,000 or so folks who have driven on the platform the last several weeks, the 1.6 million who've driven on over the last year. It's 1% of people in the overall workforce that have been on the platform over the last year. It matters not just for individuals, it matters for the economy, it matters for the country we live in, it matters for our cities. We want to figure out the AV future together. The forums are not just, you know, some sort of BS. We want to just have it out there. I started sending emails to drivers in those cities earlier this year asking for feedback. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? Does this not, do you feel this at all? Number one. And if you do, are you scared about it? Are you excited about it? How do you see it going? We've been taking that feedback in. We've been following up on that. We've been having these forums in person. It's not an easy conversation to have, but man, putting your head in the sand and not having the conversation is the worst thing you could do.
Well,
and I think you've already sent some to me. Drivers have great ideas about this, about how to like tackle it and what does it mean for them.
Okay, I'm going to talk about it next, but Jeremy, I really, really would love to be part of these conversations. I really would, because I think my community is very, very concerned about this. And my point is, this is somebody's livelihood. That's what, that's how they put food on the table. And I know it's going away, but we'll see. So this is my vision, okay, for shared ownership. Now, let's see if you agree with it and we can work on this together. So I'm personally working on building an autonomous vehicle fleet to connect onto a rideshare network, okay? Creating passive income opportunities for myself and potential investors, and those could be also drivers, obviously. So would Lyft be open to exploring partnerships or pilot programs that let drivers have skin in the game? Not a minimum wage job charging and cleaning cars, okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about an investment as this technology rolls out rather than being left behind.
100%. I think that, like, I've always thought of you, and I think a lot of drivers are truly coming into this as entrepreneurs. They always have. I mean, a lot of folks that are listening to your podcast, they're entrepreneurs, right? Some are entrepreneurs doing something else, and this is helping them do that other thing. But a lot of this is their entrepreneurship, and I think the AV future is part of that. And so, yes, it is going to be early on. The cars, the autonomous vehicles, are expensive. That's just the reality, right? They will get cheaper over time, but when they're expensive, it is going to require that kind of creativity. How do you create a pooling potentially of investing, multiple folks? And then what's great about it is you can earn with this asset without even needing your time to earn, only a little bit of your time.
Well, yeah.
And so we're absolutely open to that. We're thinking about that. I think the way you framed it is exactly the way I've been thinking about it, is how could you potentially pool investments in order to have people and then own a fleet, and then you can put those fleet on that fleet on the platform and monetize it.
Well, I mean, I'm waiting for Elon to come up with the RoboCab. He talks a lot, he delivers late, but he delivers. So as soon as those $25,000, $30,000 RoboCab come out, I'm buying 100 of them. The point I'm trying to make here, Jeremy, is that this is necessity, right? And drivers somehow should be involved. Drivers somehow, maybe $100 a week you throw on. My thought process is, I know you know about finance. It's like a REIT, right? Real estate investment trust. I'm going to call it like an MIT, mobility investment trust. Dump these cars in there, figure it all out, figure out the quirks, and send out some dividends every 3 months. As you know, my background is finance. So I think I'm perfectly qualified to do this. I'm going to do it for myself if nobody else wants it, because I like to make some money. Okay, so last.
I think that's totally like the future, right? And you think about today, right? Today you have individuals who own cars, have it on the platform. You have some fleets who own cars, black car fleets, et cetera, have them on the platform. Some are small, some are bigger. And then you have, we have FlexDrive, which is 15,000 cars or so on the platform. Yep. The future with AVs should look no different. There'll be big fleets, right? And that'll start with more big fleets, but then there'll be some small fleets. There'll be fleets like yours where you have, I don't know, you buy 10 cars, maybe you buy 50 cars, you put them on the platform. And then some people will have one car that will be autonomous that they use for lots of other things that they put on the platform when they want. But I think that is going to be the future, and there will be human-driven cars on the platform. And I would love to talk to you about ways that drivers can share in that, because I think they have to, if we're going to be successful. And
I honestly, Jeremy, I mean, the bottom of my heart, I would really love to come talk to your ELT, or because I have some ideas. Actually, I'm putting my investor group together, but I would love somehow, maybe, a driver earns $1,000, right? And do some sort of an open-end fund, and maybe they can throw out $100 out of the 1,000 into that fund. It'll kick out dividends. I mean, look, I have all these ideas, but I'll talk to you later. This is not the time to talk about it. So finally, last one, bear me out here, hear me out. So I'm deeply passionate about financial literacy in this country, because I think it lacks completely from middle school all the way to college. And so financial literacy among gig workers, nonetheless, is worse than probably any other community that I've seen so far. So too many drivers lack the tools or knowledge to make their earnings work for them, right? And so I was thinking about this, and as you know, I sent you the website, and I launched a financial literacy platform, actually, a YouTube channel and a website which sends out free newsletters. I would love to work with you guys on that. In fact, I think you guys will do yourselves a huge favor. But I want to connect this, the Lyft tiers, the points, right, that we collect.
Yep.
And which is great now. For every dollar we collect a point now. We don't have restrictions on it. How about this idea? Now, I don't know. I can work with you guys on this, or you guys probably have maybe you thought about it. So you have RSUs at Lyft, right?
Yep.
Okay, so does David Risher. In fact, his package is, I think it's $1 billion. The stock gets to $72. This is great, right? It's like a bonus for a job well done. All right.
Yep.
Now, how about this? Instead of some Mickey Mouse hocus pocus points and this and that and that, all that stuff we collect, right, to get an oil change or whatever not, it'll create a lot of loyalty. How about we convert these points into some sort of RSUs with Lyft, right? Give us like 50% off on the market price shares, and then we'll have skin in the game. We'll be because Lyft says you're our partner, then we'll be your real true partner. Right? If there is a way of doing something like this with these points and dollars drivers collect, I think it'll go a lot further than some of the, perks, let's say, of these elite tier points.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say they're hocus pocus perks, but I hear you on that. Well, let me start with the financial literacy. I totally agree with you. I grew up in a trailer park. I think we've talked about that before.
Yep.
I was told, my financial advice that I was told from my parents, who were basically teenagers when they had me, was like, don't get a credit card because you don't want to owe anybody anything. That was it. I got it. That was just sort of like how I was taught. That was the financial advice I was given. That's obviously not great financial advice. And I think that's really unfortunate. And part of like I care tremendously about economic mobility. We've been thinking about this in all different ways within the driver community. We have a partnership with Merit America, where we've had some of these, folks who are coming on the platform driving and wanting to get into tech jobs, creating opportunities for them to get trained and get into that space. And I think anything we can do in that world is good. I don't know the details of the RSU program and how it works. Totally open to I'll talk to folks about that. But I think in general, things we can do that are real in the financial literacy space and the economic mobility space are critical. So yeah, I hear you.
I would love to work with you guys. I really would, because I think it's so important that those earnings that are stretched, blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, Lyft stock has done extremely well over the last year. It doubled basically, right? So I congratulate you and the new management, right? The company was left for dead. Look where we are now, over $20 a share. I mean, I'm thinking, why can't we share in the wealth, right? Because I do believe that the reason Lyft stock has done so well is due to drivers. I mean, you guys are good managers, I'm sure, but without drivers driving, there is no revenue. There is nothing, right? So I'm thinking, why don't we share the wealth? Why don't we give these drivers an incentive to stay on the platform instead of switch to Uber or this and that? Create some loyalty, some sort of loyalty, right?
Yeah. No, look. Yes, I think we're on a comeback story and a turnaround story, and I think
for sure.
We've had stock way higher than it is today, but we're certainly on in the right path, and I think it's because of the leadership and because of the drivers and because of the overall community, and it's everybody from anybody who's driving out there to anybody who's doing maintenance on a FlexDrive site to anybody who's building an app. Like, it really has been people, I think, focused and really focused on customer obsession, which David really brought into it was in the Lyft DNA always. But I think we've got a lot to do there. And your point about loyalty matters a lot. So I've been doing research over the last couple of years on drivers or dual apping, and I want folks to be on the Lyft platform. I want it to be the place somebody comes, and this is the platform where you feel that not only are we treating you well, you're earning, you're utilized, you're able to live the life you want to live, and like, that this is the platform. You're not looking at the other guy or going on to a bunch of different platforms. We've seen tremendous success in dual appers preferring Lyft, because I do think we're listening. I do think we're taking steps. Again, not perfect at all. We got a lot of room to go. There's lots we can do, but I think we've been creating more loyalty there. If we can do other things, if you have ideas where we can create more loyalty, I want folks, been meeting a lot of them as I've talked to drivers who don't even open any other apps because they feel like they can earn and be successful on our platform. If we can create more of that, that's better for our platform, because riders will come on, they'll get a quick ETA, they'll have a great experience, they'll have great, service with fantastic driver, and they're gonna come back to the platform. And
I couldn't agree with you more. I think Uber folks are watching this, I'm pretty sure, So hey, Uber, they watch every show, by the way. So so here's the deal. You guys used to be the little tree, and we used to call you the little tree, and then Uber was the big tree. The little tree has grown a lot. So the little tree is getting more sun. So what's happening now, the little tree is grown to the point that I honestly think, you know, all the new products that you have offered, which none of it will make more money to drivers, but they're good products. And now it seems like you used to get, you know, in the old management, you used to follow Uber. Basically, whatever they did, a couple of weeks later, you guys did it. Now it seems like it's the other way around. Now it seems like Uber is following Lyft with a lot of the stuff that you guys are doing, which I think is wonderful. And it's a testament to you and your management team. And I'm going to put this comment up, and I think this says everything. Loyalty in shares, not car wash discounts. There you go.
Sergio, thank you for having me. I do appreciate it, and I'm happy to come on. I don't and I won't wait a year to come on again, but I appreciate it, and you too, Chris, thank you for having me and for coming on. Feedback. And we're open to talking more about all your different ideas. I love it. The entrepreneur stuff around AVs and all of that.
I'm going to make it happen. I mean, seriously, I would love to partner with somebody. I mean, obviously, I'm going to buy these cars. I got to put it on a network if Elon lets me do it. So the point is, might as well be Lyft. And, you know, we'll talk more, Jeremy. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you, Chris.
Take
Bye,
care.
guys.
All right, thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you'll be notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.